Today we're diving into one of history's most legendary and, yeah, tragic stories, the Great Library of Alexandria. It was this incredible beacon of knowledge that burned so brightly before it was pretty much lost to the ashes. This is the story of that light.
I mean, that sounds like a question from a sci-fi movie, right? But believe it or not, 2,000 years ago, this was a very real, very serious ambition. This one single, audacious goal became the spark for one of the most incredible projects the world has ever seen.
So where does a story like this even begin? Well, it doesn't start with a book or a scroll, but with an entire city. A city that was literally born from the mind of one of history's greatest conquerors. Alexandria. It was an absolute jewel of the ancient world, this vibrant crossroads of cultures and commerce and ideas. And it's here, in this city, that the whole dream of conquest started to change into something totally different, a quest not for more land, but for wisdom itself.
Now you have to understand, the library wasn't just a building with a bunch of scrolls. It was part of this revolutionary place called the Mausoleum, a temple of the muses. Honestly, think of it like the world's first ever state-funded research university, a government-backed think tank. It was the true intellectual heartbeat of the ancient world.
Okay, so just how big was this collection? Well, at its absolute peak, the Library of Alexandria was, and I'm not exaggerating, a monument to the power of the written word.
400,000 scrolls. Just let that number sink in for a second. Even by today's standards, that is staggering. Every single one was like a brick in a new kind of empire, one built not on land you could conquer, but on knowledge you could share.
And this collection had, well, everything. All the great philosophical debates, the secrets of the stars, epic poetry, the histories of empires that had long since fallen, groundbreaking medical texts, the very foundations of mathematics. I mean, this is the place where scholars like Aristophanes first calculated the circumference of the Earth with shocking accuracy. It was literally the sum of all human understanding. And this wasn't just about hoarding information, The scholars who worked there were driven by this incredibly profound belief that ideas and memory and stories, they could achieve a kind of immortality that no king or emperor ever could. And their dedication to getting this knowledge was just legendary. They had an official policy. Every single ship that docked in Alexandria's busy harbor was searched for books. Any scrolls they found were taken to the library. Scribes would painstakingly copy every word. And then, get this, the copy was returned to the owner. The library always kept the original. But of course, a golden age like this, it couldn't last forever. The story of the library is about to take a really dark and tragic turn as the forces of the world slowly began to close in. For all their belief that knowledge was immortal, the things that held that knowledge were anything but. Papyrus scrolls, the foundation of their entire collection, were incredibly vulnerable to fire, to damp, to just the simple passage of time. The end wasn't one single dramatic fire, despite what you might have heard. The truth is actually sadder. It was a slow, painful decline over centuries, a death by 1,000 cuts, a fire during Caesar's siege in 48 BCE, the violent destruction of its sister library, the Serapeum, during a period of intense civil and religious strife, and then just long, grinding centuries of war, budget cuts, and simple, corrosive neglect.
And so, gradually, the great debates just faded. The hum of discovery went quiet. The voices of thousands of years of human thought and experience were, one by one, silenced.
It's almost impossible to truly wrap your head around what humanity lost when that last scroll of Alexandria finally turned to dust. This wasn't just losing a building. It was like a fracture in our collective memory. It created a before and an after in human history. We can only guess how different our world might be today if all that knowledge had survived. No, really, think about it for a second. Lost plays by the great Greek masters, the complete histories of ancient peoples, written by the people who actually lived them. Scientific observations that could have propelled us forward by centuries. What answers did we lose? What questions did we even forget how to ask? But here's the thing about a story this powerful. It doesn't just end in ashes. Because while the stone and the papyrus were destroyed, the idea of Alexandria, well, that turned out to be far more resilient. See, the original library was a physical place, a single, vulnerable target made of stone. But its spirit, that's something else entirely. It's an idea that's now global, built not with papyrus, but with code and paper and just raw human curiosity. And you can't burn it because it lives in millions of minds. That powerful idea is reborn every single day, all around us. You can find it in the quiet aisles of your local library. You can hear it in the debates of a university classroom. You see it in the vast, endless databases of the internet. And maybe most importantly, you feel it in that simple, pure, aha moment of discovery when a kid learns something new for the very first time.
And this is why the story of Alexandria, for me, is more than just a tragedy. It's a timeless promise. It's a promise that even when knowledge is lost, we, as a species, will always strive to rebuild. That in the face of darkness, our drive to discover and to share what we know will always, eventually, grow back stronger. Because, in the end, the greatest library isn't a building that can be destroyed. It's an ideal that can be shared. And that spirit, the true, enduring legacy of Alexandria, is more alive today than it has ever been.